Hi, I'm Amy Reyes, and this week's news roundup from Rheumatology Network. This week we featured an interview with Dr. Beate Wiesler of Germany, who published a systemic review and meta-analysis in BMJ that compared the effectiveness of biologic drugs used to treat rheumatoid arthritis after methotrexate fails. Dr. Wiesler found that in most cases there is little difference among the biologics in terms of outcomes. And this week we featured a study from the European Respiratory Journal that shows methotrexate does not increase the risk of interstitial lung disease in RA. In an interview with Rheumatology Network, the author, Dr. Bichat Claude Bernard, says the findings suggest that methotrexate should not be discontinued in RA patients who have ILD. And this week, we published the latest edition of our monthly column, Awkward Conversations by Dr. Kim Gorgens. This month, Dr. Gorgens focuses on managing the rheumatic disease patient who has mental illness. You can find that column online at rheumatologynetwork.com using keyword search, Awkward Conversations. And we posted our bi-monthly RA quiz this time focusing on screening RA patients for cardiovascular disease. And you can find that on our site by using keyword search RA quiz. And in this week's edition of our podcast, Overdrive, we published an in-depth conversation with Dr. Daniel Solomon, who is editor-in-chief of Arthritis and Rheumatology. We talked about COVID-19 research on hydroxychloroquine and the cytokine storm syndrome. You can find that interview on our site or download Overdrive from iTunes. And in today's one-on-one interview, we talk with Dr. Michael Lewiecki, who is director of the New Mexico Clinical Research and Osteoporosis Center. And he also serves as director of a University of New Mexico program called Bone Health TeleECHO. It's a virtual program that is designed to train physicians on how best to treat osteoporosis patients. And in this interview, we cover how the program works, why it's needed, and how you, as a physician, can launch one in your state. I hope you enjoyed the discussion.
Background. Osteoporosis is a major public health concern. In the US, there's probably about 54 million individuals who have osteoporosis or low bone density who are at risk for having fractures. And despite the fact that we have good methods for diagnosing osteoporosis even before a fracture occurs, and we have effective, low-cost, safe treatments to reduce fracture risk, these treatments are not being used as effectively as they should be. And most patients at risk for osteoporosis are currently not being tested. Most of them, even the ones who are at very high risk for fracture, are not being treated to reduce fracture risk. And this constitutes a very large osteoporosis treatment gap, and it's been called a crisis in the care of osteoporosis, not just in the US, but worldwide. So it's a challenge to the healthcare community to do better at identifying and treating patients appropriately. And that's where Project ECHO comes in. Project ECHO was created actually by a gastroenterologist at University of New Mexico who was frustrated because patients with chronic hepatitis C in rural parts of New Mexico were not receiving treatment. The primary care doctors didn't know how to do it. The patients were too far from the medical center to come in, and it was too expensive and too time consuming. So he got the idea that he could use a video linkage with primary care doctors, that they could discuss real patient cases with each other, that the primary care providers could learn from the hepatitis specialists and learn how to take care of their own patients right in their own office. And in 2011, the results of this study were published in New England Journal of Medicine, and they showed that primary care doctors educated through Project ECHO ended up taking care of hepatitis C patients as well as or better than the GI clinic at the university. And it has really gone viral since that time. In a sense, the concept of Project ECHO has been applied to many disease states, and ECHO programs have popped up in many cities, many hospitals and universities around the country and around the world. This gets us to Bone Health TeleECHO. About 5 years ago, I came up with the idea that perhaps osteoporosis is somewhat similar to chronic hepatitis C. It's a common chronic disease that is being undertreated despite good treatments being available. So we started up our Bone Health TeleECHO program, and we've held it every week since 5 years ago. It now goes an hour and a half each time. And the program consists of having a short slide presentation followed by discussion, then several case presentations with discussion of those cases. And we all learn from discussing the cases and discussing the presentation. It's very collegial. It's highly interactive. It's not a webinar. A webinar is typically a lecture online with limited opportunity for interaction. It's not telemedicine. This is not about one doctor taking care of one patient who's located somewhere else. It's all about elevating the level of knowledge of healthcare professionals to a higher level and allowing them to take better care of their patients with skeletal diseases closer to home with greater convenience and lower cost than referral to a specialty center. And our Bone Health TeleECHO program has just blossomed over the years. When we first started, we averaged about 15 people participating each time. Now it's typically 60 to 100 people participating each time. And other Bone Echo programs have started up. There's a number of them around the country and in other countries. Some are focused on fracture liaison programs. Some are targeting orthopedic surgeons. There's one on rare bone diseases that meets once a month and has been very, very popular. There's a Bone Echo program in Galway, Ireland, and there's one in Moscow, Russia. And my dream is to have more and more Bone Health Echo programs popping up around the country and around the world. Ideally in a convenient time zone and the right language for the people who'd like to participate. So we could use many more echo programs, and we don't want them to get too large. If they get extremely large and there's many, many people on it, it loses some of the ability to be interactive. So instead of having one program that gets bigger and bigger all the time, it'd be much better to have many echo programs all addressing the specific needs of the people who want to participate.
So it sounds like it's been wildly popular since it was first begun with just 15 physicians enrolled.
Well, you know, there's been a rising tide of interest in using this technology to educate healthcare professionals, and has turned into a tsunami with the onset of COVID-19. And let me just give you an example of how COVID has had an effect on this. First of all, people's schedules are a little bit more freer now, so some people are able to sign on to ECHO when they couldn't because of clinic responsibilities before. But at the beginning of the pandemic here in the US, people with osteoporosis patients became concerned that their patients were not able to receive the treatment they needed. Bone density testing was being limited. And some people were on injectable medicines where timing is very important. For example, patients treated with denosumab need to receive a sub-Q injection once every 6 months. And if that injection is delayed by more than a month maximum, there's a chance that bone density could start rapidly declining and fracture risk could rise. At the same time, because of COVID, some patients were reluctant to come into a physician's office to get the injection they needed. So we bounced ideas off of each other during our weekly ECHO meetings. And one of the ideas that came up was having drive-through injections for medicines like this. And in fact, we have done this at our clinic. So for patients who don't want to come into the office, They pull into the parking lot. They park in a designated parking place. They call us on the cell phone and say they're ready for their injection. And we have a nurse go out into the parking lot. The patient roll down their window. They get a shot in the arm and they go on their way. And they never have to come into the office and they feel a lot safer. So this idea was shared with others on Bone Health TeleECHO, and for those who were at facilities where that was something they could facilitate, then that helped them out. And other ideas came about too. Normally, before we give this injection, we like to get a lab test to check some things like the serum calcium level. And it was felt that in the time of echo of COVID, when people are uncomfortable going into laboratories, if they've been stable in the past, it might be appropriate to waive that laboratory requirement so they didn't have to go into the lab. So all kinds of other ideas were shared, and that allowed rapid dissemination of knowledge, and I hope that patients ultimately benefited from sharing of that knowledge.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we'll see that they have benefited, as I'm sure you'll do follow-ups and studies to see how well things went during this period during COVID-19. The drive-through, I think we called it drive-through medicine the last time we spoke, something along those lines. Um, but with TeleECHO, how does a physician enroll? And if it's a physician wanted to host the session or start one in their region, how would that work?
Well, there are a lot of resources available uh, to enroll in our particular Bone Health TeleECHO program. You can go to the website of the Osteoporosis Foundation of New Mexico, which is at www.ofnm.org. There is a University of New Mexico ECHO web page that lists all of the ECHO programs worldwide. And it gives information about the day of the week, the time of day, and the language for that ECHO. So some people might find that one ECHO program is more compatible with their schedule than another. Now, I would love to have more Bone Echo programs start up. If anybody listening to this is passionate about sharing knowledge and loves to teach and has some organizational skills, doing Echo is a great way to use those skills and share your knowledge and help with patient care. There is an immersion training that is provided for free by the University of New Mexico, which involves online training at no cost. It goes on for several days, actually, that will provide you with the skills you need to learn how to start up an ECHO program. And it can be done from anywhere. There are ECHO programs that are run in Africa, for example, linking physicians in small villages. As long as they have internet access, they can log on with a smartphone and link up with other physicians in other small villages in Africa. And when we started ECHO, I used to go to the ECHO building at the University of New Mexico, where we had a video conferencing center, and there were several other people in the room with me. Since COVID-19 has started, I don't do that anymore. I sit at this computer right where I am now, and everybody else is located in their own home or office, and they're looking at their computers or their cell phone, and we do it that way. So it can be done with great convenience and at low cost. The main expense actually for starting up an ECHO program is to have a staff person to help out. We provide free CME, for example. When we do it, we need a staff person to take attendance to help with processing the evaluations and getting the CME, reminding participants about how to log on each time, getting ECHO speakers to understand how to log on, to get their disclosure information, and to just handle all the logistics for making it happen. And we figure that on average, it takes a staff person about 10 hours of time to do everything necessary for each one of the echo programs.
Mhm.
And having somebody doing that greatly eases the job of the moderator. So when I moderate an echo session, for example, I can focus on the science and communications and interactivity of it, and I've got somebody else taking attendance and managing any problems that come up with technology or logistics while the program is going on.
Mhm. Well, it sounds like a much needed program, not only here in the US, but obviously all over the world. How many bone echo programs are there in the country?
Well, we have one based in Michigan, we have one in Chicago, we have one in Washington, D.C. Um, a rare bone disease echo program is run from Gaithersburg, Maryland by the Osteogenesis Imperfecta Foundation.
Mhm.
We don't have one yet on the West Coast. I think it would be nice to get an echo program somewhere on the West Coast that would be convenient for people located there.
Well, definitely, yeah, at least one per state, given the need. You would
We
think that,
certainly,
yeah,
we certainly could.
yeah, they would be in demand for certain, I'm sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to thank you for your time today. Do you have any closing comments you'd like to leave us with?
Well, I think the goal of everybody taking care of patients with osteoporosis is to prevent broken bones. And I think we can do that better if we all elevate our level of knowledge. What we found with echo is that everybody seems to get something out of it. So we have beginners, we have experts, we have all different specialties, we have nurse practitioners and PAs. And I learn something every time we have an echo session, and I hope everybody else does it well. It's fun, it's educational, and in the long run, I think it helps patients, and I hope prevents fractures.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well said. Yeah. So I appreciate your time. And again, best of luck to you.
Okay, well, thank you for having me.